Mike Watkins, Hurricane Analytics and HurricaneTrack.com with a quick update on Tropical Cyclone Eta. It's not a storm right now. It's a depression. It's sitting in the southwest Caribbean Sea. It's inflicted tons of flooding in Nicaragua, lots of impacts down there. But this system is going to start to move toward the United States and specifically toward the South Florida Peninsula. But for a little setup for folks in South Florida, we've received unusual amounts of rains all fall. Last weekend we got tons of rain on the coast, so the soil here is already saturated, and because we've had a strong easterly wind pushing toward us, it's harder to drain the canals and that type of thing. So all the things that normally would happen if we saw a flood event coming are not really happening right now because it's just physically impossible, right? The system down here is large and sprawling, and now at the moment I'm watching, this is a shortwave infrared imagery which shows us the spin better of the clouds once the sun goes down. So this brightening that you see is really just the sun going down. It's not really some intensification, but really I'm looking at low cloud motion here. And if we look, we see kind of a blob developing down here, and we've got what's remnants of, or potentially a current mid-level spin here, right? So this is exactly what the models have been picking up on, and so what's going to happen, what they're predicting, and I'll show you the models here in a second, is this jet stream, which is coming down here, this river of air, is knocking out what is a ridge or a blocking kind of mountain of air between actually extending way out in here too, but between Florida and the rest of the United States and the Caribbean Sea. So you can already see what's happening there is this is starting to break down. This trough is making its way in, and it's evacuating the air mass here. The ridge is breaking down on the western side. But also you can see this band of moisture that's starting to move over into Florida, and that slide is going to continue. So we're going to get rain anytime. We've already seen some stronger, locally heavy rain here. As this continues, Eta is the area I was pointing out here is down here, right? So the way the flow is going to grab the storm, it should rapidly move off here to the northeast. But the problem is, as that happens, this system is going to develop a mid-level low, or essentially a steering low that's going to be centered. Let me clear this out. The center would be somewhere around here, right? So we know that air moves counterclockwise around this low. Eta is going to pop loose and come this way, and then begin to move back around the low levels, the steering current low here in the middle, between in the Yucatan Peninsula area there. So the concern with that is, as this moves this way with the environmental flow, you'd normally think, oh, okay, well, these are extremely strong winds aloft, and that's going to be bad for a storm of tropical nature. Well, this is not necessarily your normal summertime situation with the storm. This is more of a winter, so we typically don't see in the fall this late, as we get into November, landfalling hurricanes or even strong tropical storms in peninsular Florida. Normally that's either up the coast or south of us, but we typically don't see that here. So with people not expecting that, and also this goofy election stuff that everyone I'm sure is watching right now, I'm not sure how many people are paying attention to this, but the point is this is happening. And so by the time we get to Monday, and we're going to go to the GFS model, which is this website, Tropical Tidbits, is maintained by Lehigh County, does a tremendous job. This is where even 6 hours from now, if you orient again, peninsular Florida, down here is the southwestern Caribbean Sea. So even within the next day now, it's expecting that we'll have a fairly organized low start to move off the coast. This is 2 days from now, 48 hours. A little bit of deepening as it approaches central Cuba. But then as we move into the next 6 hours or so, we see this storm beginning to come up to the north and then begin to come back to the west and toward Florida. This is looking particularly ominous, but my point is not so much that it's coming right for Florida as it is and I'm looking at different runs from the GFS before. The model had predicted the storm to be, further east or slower to the coast. Now it's moving up the time frame a little bit. So by the time we get to Monday morning, late Sunday night, the storm would be very close to us. Even if it misses to the south, and the European model, by the way, does suggest that within 72 hours, the remnant, or Eta's low, will be a little further south and west than the GFS is predicting. And by day 4, we'd have our closest pass to Florida, but that would still impact, the straits here between the Keys and Cuba. But again, all of the, let me get the pen up. There we go. All of the rain and wind, we're going to be on the dirty side of that, which means that, again, very concerned about flooding. We could see 10 to 15 inches, locally higher amounts, especially down here in the southeast part of the state, and that's even if the storm doesn't come directly toward us. But it does change how we have to prepare, right? Because if we see, and this season in particular, everything has to be watched. We've had some rapid intensification occur just before landfall in 3 or 4 different storms that once they reach the middle latitudes, once they get north of the deep tropics, it's just the way things have come together. So we don't take anything lightly. Just the last storm that just affected New Orleans rapidly intensified in the hours before it got there, and so we may have to prepare for a hurricane, and we may have to prepare for it starting as early as tomorrow or Saturday, given the different time frames here. So the point is not so much that it's a concern right now or it's coming for us, but the bigger concern that I have is the rainfall amounts that we're expecting. Starting tomorrow, there's a marginal chance of excessive rainfall across the state. The ground is saturated, especially down here in South Florida, where we're seeing tons of rain. And so even if this just stays away from us and stays south like the European model that suggests that it might, it still means we're a big rain event. If the GFS is right and all of this happens a little bit faster, and this trend is to the north and a little bit to the west of where we're seeing even from a couple runs ago, now we're talking about flooding plus rain plus preparing for a storm. So I don't want anyone to panic, certainly, but and I'm not putting up storm panels or shutters, and even at least not planning to. But you have to be prepared for that. You have to be ready to go if that becomes an issue, which means you need to really start preparing by it now. There's really not a lot of time left before the rain is going to start picking up to the point where it's going to be very difficult to work outside. Plus, we're dealing with stronger winds than normal because of a pressure gradient or wind between the high to our north and the storm to our south. So all of that said, be prepared to act if you're in South Florida. Certainly, if you're further north, you wouldn't take your eyes off of this. But right now, between the Keys and the South Florida Peninsula and Central Florida is where we're seeing the biggest risk of this rainfall and potentially wind event. But we just don't know. And so the main thing I want to get through tonight is that this system is not going away. Yeah, we're in November, but hurricane season ends November 30th, not October 31st. And it's something that we have to keep a very close eye on. So I'll do more video updates as needed over the weekend, as many as I can. Thanks for watching. Please, again, I know we have a crazy situation in our election right now, and it's important to everyone, but just because it's November and just because we've already seen 29 tropical cyclones develop doesn't mean that this is just going to go away. So thanks again for watching this update, and I'll provide more as we go throughout the week. And then as Mark Sudduth from HurricaneTrack.com is on his way down here. I think he'll be here tomorrow, and he'll start to work, so potentially I can show you some of the updates and things that he's doing there as well. So thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you probably tomorrow.